Lovely.
Good evening. Welcome to episode 15. Yes, 15 of the Power Pod. This is now the last week of lockdown. When you're listening to this, this will be
God.
the first week out of lockdown. I'm really jealous of listeners right now. It's been difficult in here the past month or whatever.
Month, yeah, 6 weeks, whatever, how long.
Yeah, I feel like I've been locked away in a tower and I'm waiting for some sort of green prince to rescue me.
I'm waiting for Micheál Martin to come and save me.
Yeah, close enough to Shrek. So yeah, this is the episode 15. We're back again. We're back at it again. How have you been on?
I've been pretty good. I went back today and I had a look at like what when was our last episode like in person. And that was only that was episode 9, so like it makes sense, like 6 episodes, but like it genuinely feels like we've been recording this way more than we've recorded in person. It's so weird.
Yeah, what was it, episode 9? So we're near. Yeah, it's been way too long anyway. Way
it's
too
so
long.
weird. Our last episode was the Halloween special.
Paroween.
That was the last one that we had in person, which is like feels like I mean,
one of
it
our
is
most
ages ago.
hated episodes.
Awful feedback. No one liked it. A lot of death threats over our opinions.
But yeah, geez, that's way too long. It's just not. It's not right this way.
It's not the same.
Or it's not complete. You know, it still works, but it's not the same, man.
Especially, you know, we don't have our pre-podcast cuddles anymore, Mark. You know.
Yeah, exactly. What am I doing without that? You know.
Yeah, like I can't get in the zone if I don't have our pre-podcast cuddles.
I'm not reassured at all right now. Just I feel very, unsafe. But
what about you? How you been?
I've been great. I've been grand. Just plugging away, doing my thing. I haven't really watched movies though. I haven't watched a lot. I watched our recommendation for the week, Funny Games. But other than that,
later on.
Yeah, we'll expand on that later on. Other than that, I haven't really been looking at movies.
So you've been the complete opposite of me.
Yeah, it seems so.
I got like, yeah, because I watched 6 films this week. Like basically a film a day, which is unlike me. Normally I don't watch like films on that scale.
Intense.
I watched like I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which I think we talked about, like briefly mentioned one episode. That's a good movie. Yeah. That's a really good movie. I don't really want to expand upon it on this episode because I definitely want to watch the film again before locking down on like an interpretation of what went on in the film. But that's a good movie, and I think that people should check it out.
Definitely, yeah. I second that.
Charlie Kaufman, he's some bio, I tell you, some bio.
Some gassing.
Because I watched Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind last week. That's like kind of what started. That's why I watched like I'm Thinking of Ending Things, because I think the day after we recorded, I was like, I'm just gonna watch that. I was just in the mood to watch it. I hadn't seen it in years. Something I got a goo on me to watch it.
A goo.
Yeah, goo.
What's that?
Like just like, you know, an itch, like
an itch, a goo. An itch sounds way better than a goo.
A goo on me. I have a goo on me.
A goo. That's good.
Have you ever seen Eternal Sunshine of Spotless Mind?
Yeah, ages ago, way back when. But like only bits.
It's really, 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 really good.
Is it still on Netflix?
It's on American Netflix.
Aye.
This is where I watched it. Yeah, because like, you know the way like Jim Carrey, it's weird because this is like Jim Carrey's punch drunk love, if you know what I mean. Like it's a series. I'm pretty sure he did serious films before this.
Truman Show.
Like the Truman Show. Yeah, Truman Show did come out before that.
97.
Yeah, this is like 2004 or something. Yeah, but Truman Show's still kind of like a comedy. Like there is no comedy in. Well, there is funny bits, but it's not a comedy.
Yeah, it's more serious.
Way more serious, and it's so sad. It's so sad. Like the whole thing of like, you know, is it worth forgetting someone if you don't have the memories anymore? Like, because that's like the whole thing in the film. It's like when you're because the characters are going through a breakup and they're like, oh, I'll just like forget about them and like pay this company to like warp my mind basically cause brain. I
Mm.
think they actually do say like, well, this is basically brain damage. Like they actually say that they're gonna cause brain damage.
Yeah.
And but then the whole thing is like, oh yeah, but you're focusing on all the bad stuff that's going on at the moment, and because he's trying to like save his memories, he ends up like going back to the memories, and he's like, oh, this is a terrible idea because now I don't have the really really nice memories anymore, and
Mm.
it's sad. It's a beautiful film. I'll say it. It's a beautiful film, and Elijah Wood plays the biggest creep ever. Oh my god. Do you like? When's the last time did you see this film?
Back like when I first got Netflix, so
Yeah.
ages ago.
So yeah, literally like 10 years ago, basically.
Yeah, back in the day.
Like Elijah Wood plays a guy that like works for the company that like remove people's memories, or whatever.
Hmm.
And he's done the like operation, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Like, what would you call it? Like, yeah, an operation, I guess.
Like a lobotomy.
Yeah, it's basically a lobotomy. He like performed that on like Jim Carrey's girlfriend in it.
Hmm.
Played by Kate Winslet. That's her name. I'm so bad at actors' names, but got that one. Played by Kate Winslet, and he like takes all this stuff because Jim Carrey was like the perfect man for her, and then Elijah Wood takes like all of his stuff and like basically tries to become Jim Carrey to her.
Mm.
And is like saying lines, saying like stuff that he said to her, and like giving her gifts that he gave her because she doesn't remember any of it, and it's just so fucking creepy. He plays such a little creep.
Yeah, he's great at that stuff. He's got little beady eyes.
Yeah, it's the beady eyes, man. It's the eyes on him. He's a
Mm.
Elijah Wood. He's a weird little fucker. He's not in much though.
Yeah, he's more of a producer these days because he got so minted off Lord of the Rings.
Mm.
He just produces movies now.
I mean, fair enough. Like if I was in
Mm.
Lord of the Rings, I probably would never do a film again because I would never need to.
Yeah. Oh, fair play to him, you know?
Yeah, fair play to him. He's good. He's a good actor as well.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I can't. Yeah, like, I actually can't remember what he's been in last.
He was in some horror film. I saw it on Shudder. I didn't watch it though. Like Stepfather or something. I can't remember what it's called. Or like Maniac. I can't remember what the fuck it's called. It's something weird. But like he was in that, and he was in Grand Piano. But Grand Piano is literally like a 2009 film. I have no idea
Mm.
what he's been in. Again, yeah, I think he's just a producer now. I don't think he does that much. He's a cool dude though.
Yeah.
Did you ever see all the stuff that he
King.
did with like Animal Crossing and stuff like that?
Yeah, I remember that actually.
Like
Yeah.
that was such a cute thing during lockdown.
Yeah, that was one of those things where you see that stuff where it's clearly like they were told to do this by their PR guy or whatever,
Mm.
but it felt kind of or it seemed sort of authentic from Elijah Wood's end. It's like that seems like something he'd do.
Yeah, because I think he does do that quite a bit. Like
Mm.
he does, like he's really into like games and shit like that. So it feels like something that he probably like. Maybe he probably just did do.
Yeah, just for the laugh. Like what
Because
else?
it's such
do you
a
have to
simple
do?
thing as well. Like, what else can we be doing? Like,
Yeah,
you're
he's
not. It's not like you're meeting up with people. You're literally just hopping. You're playing Animal Crossing. You might as well join some fans' fucking island.
Yeah, yeah, and he gives them plants and stuff. So cute. Fair play to him.
Fair play to him. The perfect game to do it as well. Animal Crossing. It's a very wholesome vibes off that game.
Mm.
But like in like Eternal Sunshine, like the like. I think like is this one of like Kaufman's first like writing like things basically? Like is this like one of the things he was most recognized for?
I suppose, isn't it? Well, he did. What was it? What was the one about the other Kaufman and then adaptation? They were before this, weren't they? Or Man
yeah,
on the
Adam-
Moon, or what's it called? Something Moon.
Oh yeah, Man on the Moon. Did he write that? I didn't know that.
I think pretty sure he did. Or did he?
Uh,
Or Jim Carrey's in it anyway. Maybe
Jim
I'm getting
Carrey's in it, yeah.
confused.
Maybe he's in it, or like maybe he did something with it. I think you're actually right. Yeah, he has some involvement in it. What's that Kaufman's name? I can't think of it.
He did Being John Malkovich as well before this.
Oh yeah. That's
Yeah.
that was a huge. Yeah, that's one of the big ones. What's that Kaufman's name? Andy Kaufman.
Yeah, he's the one who faked his death. or
Yeah,
whatever.
apparently, allegedly faked his death, and that's like his last joke or whatever,
Yeah,
which is so fucked up. But
that would be hilarious if it was true, but it's not.
that would be gas. It's the greatest joke ever told.
Guy's just dead.
LMFAO. I made my mom cry.
Good one, Andy.
But yeah, like I haven't seen Being John Malkovich, but like again, like it's just it's pretty standard with Kaufman writing. It's gonna be something that you've never really seen before, and it's gonna be really interesting, and it's gonna have like dialogue that's really simple but really really intriguing. Like, cause like especially like I noticed up at the start of like I'm thinking of ending things like the first like monologue or whatever. That bit that's like really really simply like written or whatever, but it has such a great like punch to it. It's I don't know. He's just he's got a really interesting way of writing dialogue, and
Yeah,
it's
he's like
his
he's
ideas are mental.
yeah, he's like Tarantino for like philosophy students or something. He's really good at dialogue.
He is.
Like,
Oh
just-
my god.
There's like, but there's also like there's a lot of references in it as well, and it's like really clever.
Yeah.
But it sticks with you, you know. He's it really contributes to the story. Everything's in there for a reason.
He's good. I like him. I like his stuff a lot. So much so that I would say like I think like Eternal Sunshine would be like up there with one of my favorite films now, along with I'm thinking of anything. So, like I really loved those two films, and I think I'm definitely gonna go like through all the stuff because like have you ever seen like Anomalisa?
Yeah, I've never really seen most of his stuff, so I have to go on a binge. I've never seen Anomalisa now.
That is fantastic. You should. I don't know where you can find it. It's probably on like YouTube to rent or whatever. But that's a really really good film. And then Synecdoche, New York. That's just I watched that film years ago. I have no idea what was going on. So maybe if I return to it now, I'll like it a bit more. Because I didn't hate it. I just had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, Philip Seymour, rip.
Ripping. What a king.
What
Great.
a king of a man.
King. Yeah, that's the thing as well. Like Kaufman gets like really really good actors in it. Like Mark Ruffalo is in Eternal Sunshine, and you don't recognize him at all. It doesn't look like Mark Ruffalo.
How does it not look like him?
I don't know. I think it's like you can't really see his eyes, and he's wearing glasses, and his hair is different, and he's also like 10 years younger than what than what I imagine him being.
Yeah, he's a strange guy, Mark Ruffalo.
And what's your one's name that's in oh god, she's in Spider-Man. The Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Oh, Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah, she's in it as well. And she's really good.
Yeah, she's a good actor. She was in Fargo. She was very good in Fargo as well. Remember that?
Yeah.
With Jesse Plemons.
Jesse Plemons, oh my god.
He's amazing.
Man,
Great
I
actor.
can't wait for him to be in fucking everything. He is so fucking good. Like him and like, because I forgot like how good he was in Breaking Bad. He was so good in Breaking Bad.
Yeah. He was such a villainous character. Like, I don't know, like unassumingly villainous, and he played it so well.
He was like this monster that just knew how to pretend to be a human.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but he's very good in that, and he sort of blew up. He kind of blew up after that. You know, he's in loads of things.
He's in loads of things, and he deserves it. He's very good. Excuse me. Yeah, because even in like I'm Thinking of Ending Things, he's so good in that as well. Just plays this like this man that can just snap at a second, but is also really smart and all.
Yeah. How would you even describe that character?
I have
He's
no
like
idea. Just a man that's terrified of aging.
He's just a guy. Like, he's just such a guy.
Yeah, he feels like a normal. It's like a normal person.
Yeah, it feels like a real person almost.
How much of like Kaufman do you think is actually like in the like in his characters? Like, you know, like Woody Allen just writes like the main character is just gonna be like Woody Allen. Like, how much do you think like Kaufman does that with like his characters?
I'd say they're all definitely him. Like, they're all sort of the same people. To be fair,
Yeah, they are.
like neurotic, like really smart and stuff like that. But maybe his brain is just bigger, so he can fit all these different personalities into different people. Because they come off as different characters. Like they don't seem one dimensional or like similar really in any way.
No, that's how good of a writer he is. His like main characters are like seemingly are him, aren't him as well. Like they like like I can't think of his name, but like the guy in like Eternal Sunshine is completely different to like Synecdoche, New York man, and then completely different from I'm thinking of anything, Jake.
Jake, Synecdoche. Such a mysterious film. There's no plot summary. There's no main character doesn't have a name.
I literally, if someone asked me to explain the plot of Synecdoche, New York to them, I genuinely couldn't.
Yeah. We have to give that a watch.
Definitely have to give that a watch. I wouldn't recommend. I'm not going to recommend it for people to watch because that film just like it needs like multiple viewings to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Not unlike our Shrek fucking installment of the week. Shrek 2.
It's back.
It's back. It's back. He's green. He's
Than
bigger
ever.
than ever.
He's bigger than ever. He's green. He's big. He's mean. Yeah, this Shrek 2.
Shrek 2.
What a triumph of cinema. What like a it's like a monument to the 2000s.
The greatest sequel of all time.
Easily.
Like,
Godfather 2, eat your heart out. Shrek 2 is where
Shrek
it's
2
at.
is like in fact Shrek 2 I enjoy Shrek 2 far more than I enjoy Godfather Part 2.
It's just deeper. There's more to say.
There's way more to say. There's way more to talk about.
Absolutely, yeah.
Much like Eternal Sunshine, like Shrek 2 is one of my favorite films of all time. I think it's up there. It is definitely in like the top 5 animated films of all time.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I've definitely fallen out of I haven't really followed animated films recently, but it was just it's like a perfect movie. Everything's in there. Perfect for kids, adults alike. It's got great pacing, great music.
The music.
All the
Like,
characters.
I have not stopped listening to the soundtrack.
Yeah,
since I watched it.
I
I keep listening to songs from it.
because every 5 minutes a song would come up and you'd be like, "Oh, that's a little banger!" Like, or like
Yeah.
it'd fit the scene so well. It's like there's like Nick Cave and like David Bowie and obviously like the Monkees and Smash Mouth. And there's loads of other little things as well. Was it Rufus or what you call it, Jeff Buckley, Leonard Cohen? Just like where did they get this? Where did they come up with this? And they're all like they're not really similar styles as well. A lot of them. There's like there's such a wide array or wide variety of genre, and they all fit in the film. They're all so well put together.
I think it's just because like it's like what's the best possible song we can use for this scene, and they just nailed it every single time. like wildly different like genres, whatever, but perfectly suited to the theme. Like that accidentally in love, like this first like song in the film that like shows like the Shrek and Fiona on their honeymoon. Like it gives off such like a sense of like nostalgia to the scene, and also like brings such a joyous love to what's going on because they're on their fucking honeymoon, and it's and like even like all like that bit like was so filled with like references to like other like fairy tale properties. But I don't think there is one after that. Like they don't do like you know the way in Shrek 1 like there's like them sprinkled throughout the film.
Yeah,
Like Shrek 2 I can't think of them, but like it doesn't seem to like do that. Like it just kind of gets all the fucking references done out the window in that opening montage, and then it's just like its own thing after that.
Yeah, it is. It's more of a. It isn't reliant on the references at all. It still has them. Like it has like the when they walk into that bar at one point is a Donkey Shrek and bus. And it's just full of like fairy tale creatures. It's, like, it's just all references, but it's hilarious at the same time.
Huck is there fucking playing the piano and all.
Yeah, there's a frog sitting on one of the stools. It's like trying to chat up a donkey or something like that. But
yeah, because that frog comes back into it and like says to the king like, "Oh, don't I know you?" Which like
yeah.
now knowing like the fucking ending, obviously it's like, oh yeah, it's like it's constantly hinting at the fact that he's a frog, but it doesn't directly say it.
Spoiler alert!
Spoiler alert for Shrek 2. Sorry guys.
I think it's I like how like everyone knows the songs as well in this movie, even though this film is like nearly 20 years old. Like the one you're talking about, "Accidentally in Love," everyone knows that song. And it's
so
sort of
good.
it's still appreciated, but it's like it's 16 years old and it's only known for being in one movie. And I think I don't know if it was made for the movie.
To be fair, it is in the greatest film of all time. So
Yeah, exactly. It's a testament to the film. People. It's like because like I don't know if you got it where like I basically was able to quote nearly every single line, or I wouldn't know it offhand before, but once you get into the film, you can basically it's burned into my brain. I've watched it so much, and it's just like so treasured.
No, not even because like I had that with Shrek 1, but like I like completely forgot like parts of this film.
Like which parts?
Like the dinner table scene, I forgot. Like I obviously knew what happened, but I forgot like how like well edited it is and how like how funny it is, and like John Cleese, like dickhead in real life, amazing in this film. Oh my god, he is so good in this film.
John Cleese is a genius. Yeah, the dinner table scene is good. That's very early in the film as well. It's only like 15 minutes in. But it establishes all these things straight away, you know? Like Shrek it's like there's already these character dynamics built in, and you just go along with it, you know? It's like a fucking theme park ride. You just go along the adventure with Shrek, and it's so cathartic. It hits every beat.
And it's it's such a great sequel because it's like it expands, you know, the world of wherever the fuck Shrek is, wherever fairy tale land, wherever the fuck he is, but far, far away, new location, and like I think it's like I watched like a video about like how Shrek was like the perfect sequel, and one of the fella that like was that made the video, I can't think of his name, Schaefer's Production I think it's called, but like he was talking about like how the fact that like once they get to far, far away, they never leave far, far away basically for the next 3 films. Like it's all set in far, far away now.
Yeah, which is not good.
Especially in Shrek 3. Especially in Shrek 3, you know, it's not good. But like it's such a cool area. Like that bit where like he comes back in after being turned into a human, and you have changes playing in the background, and you just you feel it. You feel how vibey this place is.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that part was cool. Shrek turned into a human. They really improved the graphics, or how well they could portray a human in this movie. Like Shrek as a human looks great. It looks basically like
he looks like
today's animation.
He looks like Dacre Montgomery from Stranger Things. He looks like the bully in Stranger Things, and I am so down for that.
I've never seen Stranger Things, but
man, you gotta look this dude up.
That's a compliment.
You gotta look this dude up, Mark. I'm telling you.
Human Shrek is a hottie. He's a hottie.
That's the thing though as well. Like this thing hasn't aged poorly like fucking Shrek. Like Shrek 1, like look at, like the animation is like a bit janky. This one, no, like it's still, this thing could come out today, and I think like it would look fine.
Yeah, it would work well. Yeah.
And yeah, again the humans. Oh my god, they made such a huge. The humans look fine.
Yeah, they needed to though. They really needed.
They sorted out the faces or something. Like Fiona, like when Fiona turns back into a human in this film, she doesn't look nearly as weird as she did in the first one.
Yeah, she doesn't look like a PS2 or PS1 characters. You know, she looks like sort of realistic. And Shrek looks great. Even the way, like the way they animated the clothes as well. Like when Shrek turns into a human and his clothes are too big and he's moving around. Something like
they're like
I
real
noticed.
flowy.
Yeah, they look realistic.
They're not like stiff or anything. That's and also, you know, have one of the greatest villains in any animated film. Fucking the fairy godmother. She is so good.
Yeah, she's something else. I love Prince Charming's underrated though. He's hilarious. Character.
He's overshadowed by how bad he is in Shrek 3, but in Shrek 2 he's like perfect. He's the perfect like little shit sidekick like villain.
Yeah. Yeah, so funny.
But he's and like I love the opening to the film as well. The fact that like he went off to like save her, but she's already been saved.
Yeah. And the wolf is there.
Yeah. I think we get that really poorly aged line by the fairy godmother, but you know.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just a great film.
It's a great film. And without this film, I tweeted about it, so people might know already, but like I think I could write a thesis on how good the ending to this film is. Like the siege of the castle.
The siege.
With I Need a Hero playing in the background. Like the best scene in a film. Like, I genuinely think that's like one of the greatest scenes in anything. Maybe not the best scene of all time, but it's
like,
up there. It's up there.
The Godfather opening number 2, and at number 1 we got The Siege and Shrek.
I genuinely, yeah.
It feels like feels like you're proper, like, you know, at war. You know, you're like, go on, Shrek.
It feels like you're there. You're
feels
part
like you're
of
there,
the
yeah.
siege.
Yeah.
And the tension is like so, because the tension is like so well built. It's like, if Fiona kisses Prince Charming, well, to our knowledge, if Fiona kisses Prince Charming, that's it, game's over. So you gotta fucking get there quick.
Yeah.
But there's also the added deadline that you have to get there before midnight, so that you get a choice as to whether or not that you want to stay as a human or turn back into ogres.
And Mongo is so funny.
Mongo is
Tragic
so
character, such a tragic character. I can't believe.
Good.
Yeah. And he pulls down the drawbridge, and like it's just great. Like, you know, it just works.
It's great.
You feel like you're at the Bastille or something. It's like, come on, lads.
Go on, Shrek. It's so good. It's so good. There's loads of little bits in the film that I fucking love. Like, I love the bit where Gingy and like the wolf and the 3 blind mice and Pinocchio, they're watching like the TV and they see the cop show.
Yeah.
I love that, but I love the little the little touch of like they pepper spray Shrek, but they just have like a fucking pepper grinder and just like grinding a load of pepper into his eyes.
Yeah. Knights is so funny. Yeah.
So good.
And Donkey's there. He's like, please brutality and all. It's like, Jesus. Oh, yeah. It's so good.
And yeah,
Knights,
like
what a
we haven't even mentioned like Donkey or Puss in Boots. Like they're so like that bit where like in the siege where like Puss is just like, he like jumps down and is like, go, I'll hold them off or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit, like he's gonna fight, and he just like pulls the face again and then kicks their ass with the fucking like with the blade and all. It's so good.
Yeah. Puss in Boots. He's like set up as like the villain at the start. It's like it just changes within like 10 minutes. It's so well done though.
It
just works. There's a lot of things in the film that don't, like, if you think about it technically, like, shouldn't work, like that part. And
it's
then,
like, oh, why would he just suddenly give up?
Yeah, he just gives up and just joins Shrek and Donkey, but it works. And then there's a part at, just before the siege, like, they need a way to break into the castle, so they're like, oh, we'll get the Muffin Man to make a massive gingerbread man in like like immediately, and it just, the next scene is them on top of this massive gingerbread man, but like you don't question it. It's just like,
you don't question it.
This is amazing because you're caught up in the moment.
It's too exciting. It's too much fun to give a shit.
It's too
as
hype,
to whether or not,
yeah.
like, the hype is too big to like care about like fucking plot details. Shrek overcomes plot holes by being so fucking good.
Yeah, you get carried away. It's like a lazy river. It's great.
And of course, like, you know, the whole, again, we get to expand on the themes from the first film, whereas, you know, Shrek is now coming to like accept himself, but now he's like a more public figure, and now he has to accept the fact that like he's a public figure, and he doesn't want that. And that bit was well, where like he's like, where like they first like meet the parents, and it's like they're like finishing each other's sentences, is so well edited together.
Yeah, it is. It's well put together. I can't really remember the dinner scene that much, but it sets it up pretty well.
Oh, the dinner scene is just like where they're tearing apart the food or whatever, and there's like having like digs at each other, but not being too direct about their digs.
Yeah. A lot of tension in there. Yeah, I like how Shrek sort of, I don't know, like in the first one, he's like coming to terms with who he is, and now he's wondering, who am I really, and stuff like that. You know, he's getting into deeper philosophical territory, and it's really amazing. I don't know, because you're just there with him at every stage of the journey, you know, and it's all about the friends as well. It's not just about Shrek. Like, the film is called Shrek, but it's more about everybody else. It's all, he needs his mates, he needs his friends. He needs the underdogs, the rest of the, you know, the losers, like the people like Pinocchio and like the blind mice and Donkey, like all these like absolute,
and the 3 pigs, yeah,
all these outcasts who like lay siege to the castle and upset the system by stealing Prince Charming's dance or whatever.
I love as well, like, even like Fiona, like, you perfectly understand why she's so pissed off with like her like with her dad and Shrek, because it's like you neither of you are giving me a say in this, and neither of you care what I have to say, because you're wrapped up in your own in whatever yous want basically. And you understand why she's so pissed off at Shrek.
Is she? Well, is Shrek not doing that now?
No, because like Shrek is pissed off because he's like, we need to go now, because like they don't want us, so I don't want anything to do with them.
Yeah.
And then like the dad is obviously like, I don't want you to be like with Shrek, who's a fucking ogre. And she's like, but I want to stay here and I want to stay with Shrek. Like, you both need to get over this, because that's the only way that this is gonna work out for anyone, is that you all get over your fucking bigotry.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, Fiona's dad is basically a racist against Shrek, against ogres, and Shrek is like, I don't want to be racially abused every time I walk out the door. And she's like, Shrek, you have to man up and like stay here, just like get past it. And obviously Shrek gets like mad depressed. You feel so bad for Shrek. He's so insecure, and he goes on that big walk and he's like, it's over. It's like, I don't belong here. And he believes what he's told by your man, the king, or what he believes the king believes.
But see, that's the thing, is that like he needs to listen to Fiona more, because Fiona's the one that he should really care about. Like, fuck her dad. It's all about just make your wife happy.
I think Fiona should listen to Shrek and be like, let's go back to the swamp. Fuck this.
No, because Fiona knows, like, bro, if you stick around, we're gonna be fucking minted.
That is what happens. That's very true. Fiona's in it for the cash. She's a gold digger. She just wants.
She's a gold digger. That's why she married a man.
She married Shrek. Yeah, it's just a massive franchise. But she's only in it for the cash. Fiona betrays the cause yet again in this film. It's she's really the enemy of the working class of Far, Far Away.
I disagree there, because she's the one that wants to stay as an ogre. She's perfectly happy being an ogre, and it's actually Shrek who's just like, oh, let's turn into humans. She's like, no, we're fairy tale creatures now, Shrek. Shut the fuck up. We're not changing, like, we're changing race.
She's transracial. Yeah, it is. It's a very important message at the end of the film. Like, be yourself, and like you don't need to change for anybody, and like don't be ashamed of who you are and stuff like that.
Especially when you got a hot ogre wife.
Yeah.
You remember the last episode when we were talking about the class reading or whatever, and I was saying like, oh yeah, like there's definitely like a racial thing like between like fairy tale creatures and humans. It's way more obvious in this film.
Yeah, it's with the knights episode where Donkey's being abused by the knights, and then the whole thing with like Shrek's obviously a code for racism. Like he's like the king is just a bigot, basically.
Racist.
Yeah, he's just a racist. Yeah, like you feel bad for Shrek, like, and
especially when the king tried to fucking kill him.
Yeah, the king has him lynched. Tries to get him lynched out in the forest.
Shocking.
A lot of subtext there. At the end, obviously they sort of sell out as well, which sort of has to be addressed. They sell out again.
Indeed.
Is it acknowledged that they're king and queen now, Far, Far Away, or what? Oh no, wait, they're just
that's
heirs.
in the third one.
Yeah, they're heirs to the.
But like then again, they also, from their actions though, they turned the king into a fairy tale creature again. So now the king himself is part of the weirdos, of the disenfranchised.
Yeah, the king is a fairy tale creature. Yeah, he's still a king. It doesn't make sense.
But he sold out because he doesn't want to turn into a fairy. He doesn't want to be a frog.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be a frog.
Even though his wife doesn't care.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, see,
it's all about perception.
He's fallen victim to this idea, to this bigoted, racist, hateful idea that fairy tale creatures aren't as aren't
noble.
Yeah, aren't noble, aren't full people, and that's why he turns himself into a human, and he's still a king. He gets turned back into a fairy tale creature, and like he hasn't learned anything from the experience. He's just like, oh, I'm better now as a frog. But it doesn't think anything about his fairy tale comrades being abused
by the police on his
brutalized
streets.
by the knights on his streets every day. He doesn't think anything about it. He's like, I'm a king, I'm a frog now, but I'm still a king. It's grand,
It's all good.
There's no self-reflection here. Just disgusting.
Disgusting. Fuck the king. And fuck John Cleese.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What are we rating this one?
5.
Obviously, it's a 5.
Five.
Easy.
What would you say?
5 gumdrops out of 5.
5 gumdrops out of 5. Absolutely.
Not the gumdrop or the what is it? It is a gumdrop, isn't it?
buttons.
It's got to, that's a great callback to the first one as well because Mongo, which is just a ridiculous name, but Mongo's fucking button falls off him like in the first one.
Yeah. That looks so tasty as well.
Oh my god, does it? When he kicks it though, it looks terrifying. It's a flaming ball of gelatin flying at you. Yeah, it's man, it's so good. Shrek 2 is so good. You were saying that you watched Austin Powers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We started recording.
Yeah. After this, I watched Austin Powers. I had to go looking for it. I found it on like a dodgy box because it's not on Netflix or Prime or anything like that.
No, those like fucking Austin Powers films, like they're even when like they were around, like when I watched them, it was only because someone had a DVD of them that we were able to watch them.
Yeah, they were never really on TV or anything. It was like they were like banned or something. I don't know. It's
weird. You never see them anywhere.
Yeah, but I had a hankering for a bit more Mike Myers afterwards. So I was like, I can either watch Austin Powers or The Love Guru or something like that. So it's like,
didn't The Love Guru just destroy his career?
Yeah, it ruined his career. He hasn't been heard from since he made The Love Guru. Well, he actually made a documentary last year called Supermensch, I think, which is apparently really good. But he's not in it. He just directed it, I think. But so I stuck on Austin Powers, the first one, International Man of Mystery, I think it is.
I haven't seen that one. I've only seen the second or third one. I don't know how many of these are there.
There's 3 of them. There's 3.
I think I've seen the second and third one. I don't think I've seen the first one.
Well, the first one is good. The first one was better received than the second and third. And I had this image in my head, like before we stuck on Shrek 2, you like had this perception of how it was when you watched it as a kid.
Yeah.
And it was just like golden. It was just everything. Every part was funny. And Shrek 2 sort of lives up to it. Like every part stays basically the same. Like you relive the memory.
I know where you're going with this.
You relive the memory, and the memory works, and the memory is still true. Like I stuck on Austin Powers. It's just like, oh my god! Like there's so many parts that just fall so flat. Yeah, there is funny bits in it, but I don't know. There's just a lot that just goes on. Like there's a joke about a penis pump that goes on for like 40 minutes in the movie. And it's the main joke in the first part of the movie. I remember Neil and Aaron watched it in Vancouver, or we stuck it on for a bit, and Aaron was so annoyed.
Yeah, Aaron was just like, "Can we not watch something that's funny?"
No, yeah, he turns around and he's like, do you seriously think this is funny? And we and Neil were like, "What the fuck?" We're like, "Yeah, of course, Austin Powers."
I mean, to be fair, he's not like. Even when I was younger, I remember like, The Spy That Shagged Me. Is that the one that he goes back in time?
It's the one with Beyonce in it.
Right, that mean I don't remember Beyonce even.
Oh wait, maybe that's Goldmember. Yeah, The Spy
like,
Shagged Me. Maybe that's no.
Whichever one he goes back in time, and like Fat Bastard and Mini Me are in it. They're the only ones that I've seen. That might be one film. I might have only actually seen one of these films.
Yeah,
I have no idea. But like, even at the time, I was like, there's bits, and I was like 13 or 12 when I watched them. I was like, there's just bits of this that just aren't funny.
Yeah, there's loads of bits that just aren't funny.
And they just go on for fucking ages.
Yeah. Will Ferrell is actually in this. Like, there's so many parts, like you're saying, there's stuff that you associate with Austin Powers, but like it's like they're all scattered. Or there's so much you associate with Austin Powers, but it's all scattered across 3 movies. Like Will Ferrell's in it. Mini Me obviously is iconic. Fat Bastard is the basis for Shrek. That's why I want to watch it.
Are they in the first one?
They're not in the first one. No, Will Ferrell is.
So
Mini Me
weird.
isn't in it. Fat Bastard isn't in it. Like loads of the big characters from the later 2, loads of the iconic characters aren't in it. It's still pretty funny, but like Dr. Evil obviously is hilarious.
He's such a good villain.
And Seth Green is pretty funny in it, like as Dr. Evil's son. And like the scenes where they do like father-son therapy, and he's just like they're constantly referring to him as Mr. Evil and stuff like that. Just like stupid jokes like that are just really funny. But then the rest of it is just like really flat.
I forgot that Seth Green's in these films.
Yeah, he's hilarious. It's like
is that man always
teen.
the same age?
Yeah, well, he doesn't even look like a teen in this one, but like he's just there. I think it's because he's so small. But yeah, It was it wasn't as good as I thought, and there's a lot of parts in it that like Austin Powers is basically a sexual predator. Like it's a joke.
That is just his character.
Yeah, that's his
His
character.
character is just a rapist, basically.
He's like, it's the '60s, baby. Well, it's like, Austin, you can't do that. But yeah, it was a slightly disappointing experience. But I'm glad I watched it anyway. I might watch the other because I want to see Mini Me in action, and that part where he does the Hard Knock Life lip sync. I remember that being so funny. Hopefully, it isn't ruined. It isn't as bad as the first part was, but you know.
There's so many. I think I've seen that film loads, like the second one, because my friend used to have it on DVD and we used to watch it. Like, it used to just always be kind of on in the background or whatever. I can't remember anything from those films. Like, I remember him going back in time, and I remember Mini Me and Fat Bastard. I don't remember any like particular jokes from either character.
Yeah. The third one is has like loads of guest stars as well. Like Tom Cruise is in it as well, and there's like a whole dance sequence at the start, which is pretty funny. But I don't know. I'll watch them eventually.
Yeah, let's get around to them.
Oh yeah.
Another you didn't enjoy Austin Powers, much like how I didn't enjoy Love on a Leash, which is, and I don't want to like over exaggerate or anything here, but it is the worst film I have ever seen.
When's it from?
It's from 2011. It's the story about a dog that can talk, but all dogs can actually talk in this film, as you find out later on in the film. But anyway, this dog that can talk, and we assume that he can talk because, you know, he's probably been a man before, and sure enough, it turns out that he used to be a man, and he wants to turn back into a man, and then he's told by this random pond in the local park that talks to him and has sparkles coming out of him, that if he gets like true love, he'll turn back into a man. Oh my fucking, everyone needs to experience a part of this film. Not the whole film. Don't sit down and watch the whole film. Don't do it. But just some of it. There's no music in this film, but there are scenes where they clearly intended for music to happen because there's montages and they happen in silence.
Where did you find out about this?
I found out of it because Liam and Ross from My Morning Coffee, they mention this film quite a bit because they both say that it's the worst film that they've ever seen. So I wanted to check it up, and then I watched Ralph the Movie Maker's video because I wanted to know a bit before I delved in, and he had like a 15-minute long video on it, so I watched it, and yeah, it's like the worst film that you've never heard of. Like, this is, because you know the way like The Room and Trolls 2 can be like enjoyable to watch with people.
Yeah.
I don't think this one, it would even, like, there's parts of it that would be enjoyable to watch with people, because like the dog, like when the man is a dog, he talks, and the voice actor of the dog isn't the same actor as when the dog is a man for some reason. They're two different voices. And this film has the worst sound editing I have ever heard. Like one character will be talking, right, and they'll be talking like this, and then it'll cut to the other character, and then they're talking like this, and it's just
it's like this podcast.
It's basically like this podcast. This podcast somehow has better fucking audio quality than. And the plot, like, you know, right? So I'm gonna directly take what Ralph the Movie Maker said, but like, you know the way that like in most films, like in Shrek, there's like subplots, and the subplots are woven into like the ongoing like hour and a half.
Yeah, the B plot, yeah.
This film doesn't do that. This film has subplots, but they play one after the other. So as a subplot will start, and then 3 scenes later it's finished, and this film is an hour and a half, and because it goes like that, this film feels like it's 4 hours long. It is the longest feeling film ever. I sat down and I watched it in 2 different parts. I sat down for like in a 15-minute burst, and I genuinely thought I'd watched like 40 minutes of the film. It's ridiculous.
Jesus, what are they relevant to what's going on in the main plot? No, any of them.
Some of them.
Some of them are, yeah.
Some of them are. Most of them aren't. Like, there's a bit where like because like right, so the dog finds a woman and just like kind of sticks around with the woman, and so she just eventually like adopts him, and she's like she's a virgin.
This is established after she gets the dog. She's a virgin.
Oh, before she gets the dog. So the dog goes up to a park, and then this woman is there with her black friend, and this is the worst written black character I've ever seen written in a film. At one point, this black character walks into the room and goes, "Paula's in the house."
You go, girl. Oh,
And,
God.
And Paula goes up to the dog and is just like, "You're about to meet America's for like only virgin," or something along those lines.
What?
So it's
That's
like,
so
"This girl
lazy.
is a virgin, okay? Just so you didn't get it, this girl is
Yeah.
100% a virgin." And then so then she adopts the dog, and she's like trying to like figure out like what boy she wants to go with, and I am right. Trigger warning for like sexual assault for what I'm about to talk about. Right?
What?
This film deals with sexual assault.
Sexual
Into-
assault
Oh
with the
man, it's-
dog.
No, with the woman's boss sexually assaults her. Right?
What?
So one of the guys that she's with is an Asian man, and he's just like, "Oh, I'll marry." He just straight up says to her like, "Oh, I'll marry you, but you're still free. Like you can still like sleep with anyone. It'll only be a name." And she's disgusted. And then he goes on to tell her that the only reason that he wants to marry her is because he's gay, and his family will throw him out of the house and like will disown him basically if he's gay. But he wants to marry her, but then continue to be a gay man, and she can still like do whatever she wants, and he'll take care of her, he'll provide for her. It's really fucking sad, and it's so tonally off with
Yeah, why is-
everything else in the film.
Why is this in a movie called Love on a Leash?
Right? And then she's like, this has the worst camera work I've ever seen. When he's telling her this, right, it's like a long take of like the two characters like talking to each other like within the frame. Her face isn't in the frame properly. And then anyway, so then he tells her this, and he's like, "Okay, right, I'll leave you to it. I'll like let you think about it or whatever." And he leaves, and she starts bawling, crying. Her boss, who earlier on in the film sexually harasses her at work, just walks into her apartment drunk, and then proceeds to try and rape her. And then the dog comes in and saves her.
What?
This is in the first 15 minutes of the film.
Oh my God. That's a lot going on. That's a lot of issues. This is obviously a very socially conscious dog movie. But like, you feel like one of these movies would be like appeal to families or something. Like, who's the target audience for this movie?
I have literally no idea, because this film is too boring for it to be a kids movie. Like, and it's so ugly. Like, it is so ugly. Like the shots, the lighting, the colors, none of it. It's not visually visually appeasing. Is that the word?
Appealing.
Appealing. Thank you. This movie gave me brain damage. It's not visually appealing whatsoever. The dog it's just a normal dog. Like, it's not like animated or anything. The dog's just floating about, and most of the time it's just like it's literally like the dog is just walking around, and they just put a voiceover to say like, "This is how the dog is feeling," because the guy will just be like, "I am so sad now because she doesn't love me anymore."
And it's just like his mouth doesn't move or anything, no?
No, his mouth does not move whatsoever, and he'll I was so confused as to what was going on for the first 20 minutes of the film, because there's no continuity between each scene. Like, there's no flow.
Yeah.
And I really want to talk about the end of this film. So this movie goes on and it goes places, and it's just, you wouldn't believe where this film goes. It's ridiculous. But anyway, at like the climax, and I'm putting quotation marks over this because the climax happens where the dog is like, "Okay, I gotta go. I can't be the man that she wants me to be," because you know he's a man as well. But anyway, he turns into a dog at one stage, and he leaves, and then he goes to the pond, and he's like, "Oh, you told me that I had to find true love, and I really love her. And the pond says to the dog, "Is like, oh yeah, but you didn't have patience and all this shite. This is what true love is." And he's like, "Oh yeah, no, I love her. I'm gonna go back to her." The climax happens for like 2 minutes of the film. Like he like leaves, and then the scene later he decides to come back to her and like fall in love with her. He gets hit by a car
As a dog or as a man?
as a dog
As a
and
dog,
dies.
what?
Right, and the girl finds like is on the ground with the dog, and then she's crying and everything, and it's real sad and emotions, and then the words "years later" appears at the bottom, and Paula, who like fell out with whatever the girl's name is, she comes back and she comes into it, and she's got grey hair now, and she's got 4 kids with her. So it's like, oh shit! So it's like whatever. It's like 15, like 10 years later or whatever. And the girl's house that we follow, like whatever the fuck her name is, she's like selling or like trying to rent out her apartment or some shit like that. And Paula's like come to like check out the house or whatever. And one of the kids turns to Paula and says, "Grandma, can we go play in the front?" And I sat there and I was like, hold on a second. So 50 years has gone by, and the only difference about these characters is that their hair is grey.
It's in the future. What happened to the dog?
That's what I'm gonna get to, right? So Paula sits down and starts talking with like Siobhan, whatever the fuck her name is. Sits down with Siobhan, and I was just like, "Oh, so you're still waiting for Prince?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm still waiting for Prince because I know he'll come back. I know that he'll be born again." This wasn't established in the film whatsoever throughout the entire film. There's no reason in the film why she would think this, except that the director and writer and producer of this film is Chinese, and I think that Taoism or some like Buddhism or something plays a role in this. That's the only reason I can think as to why she thinks that he'll be reincarnated. Anyway, she says like, "Oh yeah, but like he'll be like our age, like whenever he comes back." And Paula turns to her, and this woman has been thinking about this, right, for 50 years. Since the day that the dog has died, she has thought about how when he comes back, he'll be the same age as her. And Paula says, "Oh no, honey, when he's born again, he'll start a new life and he'll be a different age." And Siobhan turns to her and says, "Oh, I didn't think about that." Not once did she think that born again meant that he'll be a different fucking age.
He'll be a baby.
Anyway, sure enough, Prince comes back, but he's a man now. And he's like, I don't turn into a dog anymore. I'm just a man. Because I'm born again. And he's younger than she is, right? And he goes on to tell her that he loves her. And then his hair goes grey because he has now, for whatever reason, has aged up to her age. And then they marry, and then they kiss, and then they de-age back to the age that they were throughout the entire film.
What?
And then she has like a scarf on. Her whole thing in the film is that she wears green for whatever reason. She's got a green scarf on her. She wraps it around the fella's neck and holds it like a leash. And then the words "the end" appears on the screen.
in case you didn't get it. The end. Jeez,
this
that's
film
grim.
is so bad.
That sounds
like,
evil.
I actually feel like it might be I know that I said earlier, like it might not be enjoyable to sit down and watch this with someone, but maybe, because I feel like if you took like a shot every time that there was like, or took a sip of your drink or whatever, every time a new plot element started, you would be fucking gargled by the end of this film.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan.
And every time the color green, if you just did every time that the color green appears in this film, you'd need to get your stomach pumped.
It sounds quite disturbing. A woman who's in love with a dog, and then a child, basically, is it?
No, he's a man. Like, he's like, because the whole thing is like he turns to her when he's a man. He's like, "Oh, I used to be like, always a man, but I was a player, so something turned me into a dog." And I was like, I get it. A cheating playboy man. He's a dog. I get it.
So he was a promiscuous man, so he got turned into a dog. And then he got ran over by a car and had to reincarnate himself as another man.
No, it's the same dude. Like, it's the same actor.
Oh, okay. Jesus, that's something else.
That would be too high budget for this film to have like, multiple actors.
I'll have to give that a watch. It's on YouTube, yeah?
Yeah, the full thing's on YouTube.
Love on a Leash. That's so.
Yeah,
It's so heartwarming.
yeah. And like, there's like when he turns into a human for the first time, like him and the girl have sex when he's a human, and then it cuts to the next day, and it's the dog lying in the bed with her, and I
What?
sat there with my hands in my head. I was like, "Oh no, please, no, don't do that."
Imagine.
The way that they explain it is that, like, well, first off, they explain that, like, he only turns into a dog during the day, so he's a man during the night and a dog during the day, and then but then at one point, like, they need him to go outside during the day, so they changed it to it's actually sunlight that changes him and turns him into a dog. That's not mentioned at all beforehand. And then she's just like, "Oh, come on, it's a cloudy day. You can come out." And it's like, "What? Why can he go out?" And then they
What if the
literally say,
clouds drift away? It's like,
sure enough, Mark, that's what happens. The clouds drift away, and he turns into a dog in front of her new boss and his family.
imagine that your fella turns into a dog. It's like, gee, you can't get any more literal. He's like a reverse were-dog. You
There's
can't
literally
go-
a bit.
uh,
There's a bit where, and this is my favorite part, where she's getting really pissed off with him because he doesn't want to have kids because he's just like, "I
I'm a
can't."
dog.
And she's like, "You never do anything for me." And he's just like, "What the?" I was just sitting there like, "He's a dog. What is he meant to do?"
You never do anything for me. Classic.
Classic. Oh. Even at the fact that he works as he works as an actor as a dog and like in advertisements and stuff like that.
He's a dog
and that's how he
actor.
can make money. He's a dog actor.
Well, there you go. He's still working for his wife even when he's a dog, or for his girl, like, you know, still making money.
Love on the Leash.
Even though he's a
what
weirdo.
a fucking awful film that everyone should experience some of. And the opening of this film is in complete silence because obviously there was meant to be music, but there's just not music. And there's a composer credited in the film.
Mm.
And I don't know why. When you look at the IMDb trivia, though, it says that, like, because the dog sings, like, just shitty songs where he's just like, "Oh, ho, ho, I'm a dog walking down the park," whatever. So the IMDb trivia says that people think that the reason why the composer is credited is because he must have written the lyrics to those songs.
Yeah, it sort of sounds like you know that movie A Talking Cat.
9 Lives, the one with Kevin Spacey.
No, I don't think so. It's the one where, well, maybe 9 Lives is also one. There's one that's it's called A Talking Cat. It's sort of the same thing. It's just about a cat that talks. But it's like equally as bad. But it has like a few famous
he
people
doesn't
in
talk as
it.
a dog.
He doesn't talk. Well,
No,
he has
no,
thoughts.
He has thoughts, and that's what
Yeah,
we hear.
yeah.
But he doesn't talk to. Yeah.
Yeah. We should do a full episode on bad movies or animal themed bad movies, zoological
Mark,
bad movies.
If we're doing that, like, we need to watch these. I can't sit down and watch these films by myself. I need you to
Oh,
be
yeah.
here for me to go through these.
We can do that next week. We can do Troll 2, A Talking Cat, Love on a Leash, all them. See, because we can stick them on double speed, and then you get through them all in one night.
Oh God, yeah. Because if you watch Love on a Leash at double speed, it'll be 45 minutes. It'll still feel like 2 hours, but it'll be 45 minutes.
Yeah, you probably miss something, but what can you do?
If anyone wants to like look at this film, it's on YouTube. I put it up on the Twitter, with a link to it, so you definitely just give it a goo.
Yeah, let it get its goo all over you. I'm gonna have a look anyway, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely, especially because like the opening bit is fucking gas because it's just a dog going like, "Where are the girls at?"
You're a dog, bro.
And there's a bit where like this guy is just petting the dog, and like the dog just goes like, "What are you doing, man? I'm not gay."
Really? What?
Yeah, full on. Yeah, like
I'm not gay. You're a dog.
that's in like the first like 3 minutes of the film.
That's hilarious. That is actually hilarious. I definitely have to. I'm gonna watch the first bit anyway.
Yeah,
That's so
definitely.
funny.
It's
I'm
it's
not gay.
Man, it's filled with shit like that. Well, like when the Asian dude showed up, because the Asian dude is the gay guy. When he showed up, I immediately knew that something awful was. I was expecting him to have like a really bad accent.
Yeah.
Like, I was expecting that
Jeez.
because like considering the like how the black character talks, Oh Jesus.
Yeah, is this like a Chinese production or something? You were
It
saying,
is, yeah. Which is like probably why the Asian character doesn't have like such a huge like ridiculous accent. Because also the reason the reason why like the girl wants to have kids at one stage is just because she talks to a Chinese woman. Like she just says, "Oh, I was talking to some Chinese woman in the park, and she was telling me how great kids are. So now I want to have kids."
That's so bizarre. She thinks a kid's like a dog, and she treats her dog like a husband.
Well, he's literally like, "Well, what if the kids are like me?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, cute, handsome, and smart." And he's like, "No, what if they turn into a fucking dog?"
No, what if they're dogs? Because I'm a dog.
Oh god, it's just it's
that's
so
hilarious.
bad.
Yeah, I looked it up. It has a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, because like apparently like Ralph the movie maker, he was like the YouTuber. He like told his fans to give this film a 10 out of 10 on IMDb. So IMDb cancelled and like deleted his account on IMDb as punishment.
Oh, Jesus.
Because they're like, stop telling your like hundreds of thousands. Because like if all of his followers did do that, like he's got like a couple 100,000 or whatever. Like that's enough for, if they all did that, that's enough for for Love on the Leash to get into like the top 10 on IMDb.
Of all time. There's also it goes into like related searches. And it's like faithful findings. Remember we watched that?
That was so
That
boring
was so
though.
so bad in a bad way.
But it wasn't even enjoyable fun. It wasn't even like enjoyably bad. It was just boring.
Matt, say if we stuck that on double speed, it would have been so much better.
Yeah, 100%. Faithful Findings. Neil Breen is just a weirdo.
It was just so slow, you know.
It was. It was just so, like yeah.
Because we're trying to follow up the room. I think Troll maybe, and Faithful Findings is like famous for being bad, but it's only like it's really bad in certain points, but like the rest of the time it's just boring. It's just it's just bad. It's not bad, you know.
Yeah, that's like the worst thing a film can be is boring.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like if it's boring, I can't defend the film.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah, you can't
like,
justify
like,
watching it if you're just sitting there like, what's the point of this? You know.
like Love on the Leash, like there's like I actually, you know, fair fucks to the film. Like there's like 20 minutes of the film where like it's going.
You're on the edge of your
fair
seat.
Fucks, on the edge of your seat. But like it's actually it doesn't feel like an hour for those 20 minutes, but then it falls back down. But like it's not even. It is boring, but like you're just mesmerized as to what is happening on the screen.
I'll definitely have to have a look. That sounds right up my alley.
Definitely, I recommend you. I don't recommend any of our listeners to fucking watch it, but I recommend you to watch it, Mark.
I definitely will. Speaking of films that make me extremely uncomfortable, what about a recommended film for the week? Funny Games, by Michel Haneke, is it? Michael Haneke?
It is Michel Haneke. I guess he's French, or he's Austrian actually. So, yeah, Funny Games. Have you ever seen any Michel Haneke films before we delve into these beasts?
I never have. I never have until this week. That is.
You should watch like Amour. Amour is like it's a great film. I think Amour is maybe his best film. Emo, but like it's great. Such a good film. Such a sad film. It's with an old woman that has like Alzheimer's and her husband trying to like, you know, deal with that. And especially because like Michel Haneke is old himself now, so it kind of like ties into that itself. But yes, Funny Games, my recommended film from 2 weeks ago. Plot summary: 2 psychopathic young men take a family hostage in their cabin. That's basically it. Like
yeah. It's like a meta film.
This is like the most meta film. Yeah, because I've been talking for fucking ages. Do you want to start off with?
So it's like it's the only film that I've actually watched the past like 4 or 5 days. But there's a reason for that, because I watched this film. I was like having a bad day, and I watched this film. I stuck it on at like midnight or something.
Oh, Mark,
I was like,
no.
no, exactly. I know. I was like, oh, this is. I don't know why. I was just having a bad day. I just stuck this on, and I was like, oh, I have to watch this for the episode. And I was about 20 minutes in, and I was just getting more and more annoyed. And so I looked up the plot summary, and I read to the end, and I was like, fuck this, I'm not watching this. This is just going to make my day worse. And I just went to bed. I was like, nah. It's like listening to a noise album or something. It's just
Yeah,
an
that's
assault.
that like opening like blast of music that plays in the fucking like because you watched the US remake as well, didn't
Yeah,
you?
there's two versions. So I only
Yeah,
watched the American version.
I mean they're the exact same film. Like
Yeah, they're shot for shot.
there's no
Yeah,
difference.
and the
Like,
same director as well.
well, yeah, I guess like if we were to tie it back into like remakes, which you talked about like a couple of weeks ago, this is like one of the best remakes.
Because it's the same
Like,
guy. Every shot is the same.
and like it's better. It is like because like reading the differences, it's a better film.
Mm.
The remake, which is interesting, but yeah, this is not a fun time.
Yeah, this is not a funny game, you could say.
No, it's not.
No, yeah, this is extremely unpleasant to watch. It's another extremely
Quite a
unpleasant,
disturbing film.
another extremely disturbing film. It's so like the whole point, I suppose, like denying you the opportunity to resolve the conflict, or like there's never any sort of catharsis whatsoever.
No.
Like everything that happens, it's all built on your assumptions. So everything that happens, you assume, A and B happens, so C will happen next, according to the horror movie formula. And then this movie is all about C not happening, and it goes to fucking Z or something, or like they look at you in the eye and they're like, "What do you mean you thought that was going to happen? This is actually going to happen."
Those bits are so like
Yeah.
so like yeah so like there's I guess like we should start from the start of the film because like it only like it's like it's like a wave forming and then it just crashes down and like on top of you at the end where everything is awful and
Yeah.
but like the start of the film is so mundane and so fucking boring.
Mm.
And it only picks up when Paul and Peter come into it. And when I think it's Peter. No, it's Paul.
Paul comes in for the
Whichever
eggs.
one it is it Paul that comes in
Yeah.
for the eggs? That is like
Or is it?
so. Whichever one it is, it's what does he call it?
Tubby.
Like Tubbs,
Tubby,
whatever.
yeah.
Tubby. Like when he comes in and he's just like asking for the eggs, you know that something is unbelievably wrong. Like this can only go somewhere awful.
Yeah, that scene like spoke to me on like a really like that was just extremely uncomfortable to watch, and it was really like disturbing. Even though nothing happens, it's just he's asking for eggs, but he keeps coming back, and the way he talks and stuff like that. It was just really, I don't know. It's like it's horror. It is horror, but like in a really weird way.
Yeah, it's like you're. What's her name? Is it Naomi Watts?
Yeah, Naomi
Is that her
Watts,
name? Like, she's trying to be as nice as she can to like a Nathan for You character in a horror film.
Naomi Watts.
Yeah, Naomi Watts is talking to a character
Yeah.
that feels like he's from Nathan for You or something like that. Like he's just so awkward, but clearly has an intention behind whatever he's doing.
Yeah, it's so weird. He's just asking for eggs, but it's like, just tell him to fuck off. It's like you don't like, and they keep asking. They're like, you owe us eggs, basically. It's really hard to describe.
Yeah, it's just basically like he asks for eggs and she gives him eggs, and then he drops the eggs, and then he comes back in and asks for more eggs, and she's like, I just gave you them. He's like, oh yeah, but I dropped them. Can I please have some more? And she's like, yeah, fine. And then he drops her phone into the sink, and her phone is fucked.
And then he drops the eggs again.
And then he drops the eggs again, and then but now he comes back and his brother's there now, and he's just like, just give us the fucking eggs. It was your dog's fault that we dropped them. And then her husband comes in, and her husband is like, what's going on? And then she's like, you tell them to fuck off because they're intimidating me. And her husband kind of tells them to fuck off, and then slaps one of them, and then they break his leg.
Yeah, they break his
and
leg.
And then that's it. Like we are into like this family being tortured by these two psychopaths, but there's never any violence shown on screen, which is like key to like like the thesis. Like this film is basically like all thesis. Like this film has no plot whatsoever. It is all the meaning and the message of what like Haneke is talking about, but the fact that it has no plot is part of that message, which makes it so interesting.
Yeah, something about horror or like violence in film, isn't it? I read something that sort of was interesting, that it was he said it was a response to Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, because the original one came out in 1997,
Mm.
and then this one came out 2000. Because I watched the American one as
Mhm.
well, and the American one is just better. Like having watched like the original and the American remake is just better. But like it's weird that like the 1997 one is like a response to like Pulp Fiction and like hyperviolence films, and the only reason why Michelle Haneke remade Funny Games was because Saw and Hostel and these like torture porn films started coming out. So he was like, "Oh, I'll just remake Funny Games in like set in America and just like
Make loads of money.
market it as like one of those
Mm.
films." And it's not one of those films at all. And because of that, it was hated. Like it's the exact same film, but on IMDb and like fucking Rotten Tomatoes and all these places, it's rated way worse than the original
Yeah.
one because
I didn't get
all
that.
these Americans that went to go see it thought that it was a film that it's not.
Yeah, I didn't get that. It's well like now though. Like pretty much everywhere you look, people are like, if you didn't like it, then you didn't
People-
get the message.
Yeah, people get it
Yeah,
now.
yeah. But what's the message really? Like, what was your impression like?
I thought like, yeah, because like I read Haneke's like essay on like media and violence. And that dude completely misinterpreted Apocalypse Now, where he thought that Apocalypse Now was like a pro-war film and how you're meant to be on the side of the Americans, like butchering all the Vietnamese people. And I was like, that's okay. So you misinterpreted that.
Yeah.
And like his whole thing of like how like grotesquely violent films are, and he's talking about like, and it is interesting. Like he talks about this cool thing where like, so I'm gonna do like a bit of a quote from the essay, because his whole thing is like this film is basically like a reaction to like media and violence within media and how like whatever it makes you numb to violence.
Yeah.
And he said, quote, the still image, because he's talking about like, it's like specifically with like moving images, right? So he's talking about like paintings and like photos in this bit, right? But he says the still image generally shows an action's result, whereas the film shows the action itself. The picture usually appeals to a viewer's solidarity with the victim, while film often puts the viewer in the position of the perpetrator. So he's like talking about like how within like action films, and it's interesting that you say Pulp Fiction because you're kind of meant to feel like you're the cool guy in those kind of films. Like when you watch Goodfellas, I guess like for a lot of people, like it is it is like a critique of that lifestyle, but it's easy to fall for that lifestyle.
Yeah, so cool.
And the violence.
Godfather, stuff like that. They're just so cool.
Yeah, it's so fucking
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
And Pulp Fiction's fucking cool. But you're also like, you
That's
know,
bad.
murdering
Yeah, yeah.
people. And it's interesting, like, for that stuff. And specifically, I think it's really interesting in Funny Games because, you know that, so like, of course, like, obviously, spoiler alert for these films. You know when Georgie, like, the son dies?
Yeah, man,
And it just-
that's when I was like, because I only watched it, because I turned it off at first, and I watched it yesterday. I watched it in full, and it's like, when the kid dies, you know, like, this is fucked up. Like, when they kill the kid,
It's so
then you know,
fucked
like,
up.
this film has nothing to lose. They're, like, going out of their way to be
No.
as graphic as possible.
The only, like, yeah, like, the kids, like, it's as if, like, it's the same. Remember that thing that you're talking about, like, with Hills Have Eyes with the baby? That, like, you know that they're not going to do anything with the baby, but the threat is still there. But this film actually kills the kid first. And it's like, this has nothing to lose. There's nothing more gruesome that it can show us than, like, the kid. And you don't even see the kid dying.
But
Like, that's
it's-
not on screen.
Even before
but
he
it's-
dies, it's like,
it's
it's
still
horrendous.
fucked.
Like, it's horrendous, because
Yeah.
they're following him around, and he's like, his parents are being, like, humiliated and, like, beaten up and, like, sexually
And he just
assaulted in
sits
front
there
of
and
him.
has to watch it.
Yeah, he just has to watch the whole thing, and he's like, he's crying, and it's like, oh my god, and it can't get any worse. And
Yeah.
then they kill him, and he's not even like, he just dies. He's the first to die as well. It's so fucked.
That, but like, I think it's like really interesting to what like Haneke was talking about just there. Like the still image shows the effects because once Georgie dies, it like pans like the two dudes like Peter and Paul. They leave for a while, and like we can get into like the meta aspects of that later on. But like in terms of like the violence thing, it just holds, and you just sit there watching Naomi Watts trying to get up, like, and she's crying and she's all fucked up because her son just died, and it goes on for like 10 minutes and it just holds there and it doesn't cut because that's the still image that's having to deal with the aftermath of action being taken, and you don't get to see the action. You don't get to like put yourself in the shoes of the perpetrator. You have to sit there with the victims of violence and watch them struggle with it.
Yeah, shit, yeah. Yeah, that whole sort of that like it's like a break almost in the movie. Like that's really I definitely caught on to the whole emotional aspect of it, like the fact that they're subject to this horrific violence. And in like a usual horror movie, the violence just happens on camera and there's no other, like if there is an emotional aspect to it, it's like pretty shallow, or it's not really elaborated on, or
barely, like
whereas this is like they're like the whole thing with the kid's like a lot of emphasis on emotions, and they're constantly crying, obviously.
There's a lot of like just holding on the actors' faces as they cry.
Yeah, and like afterwards, like it's just like she's struggling around the room, and you have this idea in your head, or you're always conscious of the fact that her son's like dead on the ground in front of her, and she's just trying to get on with it. It's like it's just
because she needs to try and survive at the very least.
Yeah, it's just dwelling on the like the fallout of the violence rather than the violence itself.
100%, yeah. Yeah, and that's such a huge thing within the film. Like you talked about like how like, you know, there's a bit of like sexual assault in this film, but
it doesn't go full on.
It's just like Naomi Watts has to like strip and like just she basically has to like take off her clothes in front of them, and then once she does that, they're like, oh yeah, put it back on your clothes. But in a complete juxtaposition to other horror films, you don't see anything. It just holds on her face, and you have to watch this woman dealing with the fact that she's being fucking sexually assaulted, and it just holds there for ages, and then it cuts away. And it's like that constant tension of like, oh Jesus, are they gonna do anything more?
Like there's the assumption when that happens, they're like, oh, this is gonna get bad. But like he just says, oh, you can put on your clothes again. Like he only did just to humiliate the father, but it's also like a withholding for the viewer itself, or for the viewer as well, because like it's playing on your assumption that it's going to escalate, but it doesn't escalate. He's just like, he's being polite. He's like, I achieved what I wanted to do, which is humiliate the father, and I've accomplished that, and you can go back to putting your clothes on or whatever. It's really fucked up.
It's really fucked up, and like especially like because I think like there was some, I think like the point as well was that like Haneke didn't want to like, you don't get to see Naomi Watts' boobs or anything. You just have to see her reaction. Whereas, you know, in like an American film or like an actual horror film, if that happened, you probably would see her boobs, and it like Haneke is just like, no, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna distract you with seeing this really famous actor's boobs. You have to watch her suffering through this, and it is so deeply upsetting.
Yeah, it's really hard to watch.
It's like you don't get to. It's like you don't get to see the relief in any of this. You have to just watch the emotional trauma that this is causing these people.
Yeah, there's no catharsis whatsoever. Like there's no. Like when I first had a look at it, and it was just the egg scene was going on, and like it was just a bit after that.
That scene goes on for so long. It goes on for ages.
It's like it's only 20 minutes in, and the psychopaths were like getting the upper hand or whatever, and I was like, this is too distressing to watch at like midnight after a long day. And so I looked when I looked at the plot summary, I was just expecting. I didn't care if it was a spoiler or whatever. I just wanted to know that there's
everything's gonna be okay.
There's some sort of catharsis at the end. There's some sort of retribution, and I was like, obviously at the end, I was like, nah, I'm just gonna go to bed then. After reading it, it's just like,
because there is nothing.
There's
because
nothing at the end.
The family dies, and they just move on to the next house, and you know that they're gonna do the exact same thing again, because not only are like the family that we see, do they all die, but they've already done this to the house beforehand.
When your man is first, when Paul, I think, is first introduced, he's with another neighbor, and like the way
the two of them are there. The two of them are there standing with the neighbors while they like Tim Roth's family like pull up to the house and like, oh hey, but the two murderers are just standing there. And like my dad was, because I watched this with my family, and my dad was like, well, my family like did not like it like at the start, and then like, okay, like we get like
I get it.
they
I
got
get
it
it.
as well. My sister was like, it was really boring and then really upsetting. But it was just, she was like, I don't like a film that's just all the message. She's like, I got it, the message. But like my dad was like, oh, that explains what was going on at the start, because my dad was like, that was really weird, like the interaction that was going on at the start.
It's
But
all
yeah, as
explained
you're
at the
saying,
end.
like,
Yeah.
but like, yeah, they've just like been doing this repeatedly.
Yeah, but like, there's always that sense that it's not real. Like, it never pretends to be a real. There's always like this pretense of realism within a film. Like, this film doesn't attach to that at all.
No, not at all, because like, of course, like, this is an unbelievably meta film. Like, we are constantly told this is a film, and like Paul and Peter, well, especially like which one is it? Sorry, I'm just gonna. Yeah, Peter is the one that like is like aware that he's in a film and is
Oh,
aware of us as a viewer, because because like it's a pretty standard like horrible, like just when things are starting to get like really violent and Naomi Watts has to go out and find her dead dog, which is like so like ridiculously upsetting.
Yeah, they kill the dog, kill the kid. It's like it seems like
They're
they're just
hitting all the
taking off.
bars.
Yeah, they're just taking off checks, taking off the list, and that's actually what he's
But
doing.
that's basically what
Yeah,
they're doing
exactly,
as well. Yeah. But it's when he's going out to find, like when Naomi Watts is going out to find the dog or whatever, and he just turns and looks at the camera and just smiles, and you're like, oh shit, he knows that he's in a film,
He does.
and it only goes on to like he's like literally like tearing apart plot points where like he sits them all down and he's just like, right, we're gonna play a game. I bet that none of you live within 12 hours, and you're gonna bet that you survive. And then he turns and looks at the camera and he's like, what do you think? I bet you're hoping that they survive. Of course he would. And then it's like turns back to the film. And I think that like that bit that you were talking about, like that catharsis, like the film gives you that catharsis for a split second, where like Naomi Watts stands up and she takes the shotgun and she kills one of the psychopaths, and then Peter picks up a remote control and rewinds the film.
Yeah.
And then undoes what she has done, which is just like, what an amazing way to fuck with your audience.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yes, here we go. This is like she's gonna kill them all. Nope. It's he literally controls the film. Like that's the point where you know like there is no hope for these characters.
Yeah. It's almost like, but it's still kind of a relief for the viewer, because it turns into like, it's like a sandbox kind of thing. It's like GTA. Like, you're just imagining this guy as like, or at least I did. It's like these people are just fucking NPCs in his world, and he's going around.
Yeah.
He's going around this like this lake in this ethereal world where he just kills people like forever or whatever. But it's like it sort of took away from the immediacy, or the it was a lot less tactile, I suppose. After that.
Yeah, yeah. Like I don't think this film is like perfect with how it executes it. I think in a way the film kind of talks down to you. And it's real pandering in certain parts. But it is real it's really cool because I've never seen a film like this. Like
Yeah, I've never really seen a proper meta film. But it is a bit pandering, like the way, like the message. I don't know if I really understood the message properly, but it seems to be like scolding the viewer for enjoying violence. But I think there's certain people that enjoy violence in like Hostel and Saw and stuff like that. But like most people watch horror movies, I think, to like root for the viewer or root for the victim, rather than to be like, oh, I hope he suffers, and then at the end they just get like an out, like, oh, he suffered but at least he lived. It's more like, I see this guy suffering and I feel bad for him and I want him to not suffer anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, especially like what Mr. Because like reading the essay, like what he's like doing makes a bit more sense, because he's talking about like the problem with the similarity between the forms of like TV especially, and realism, fictional violence, and like actual real violence are coming at you through the same medium. So you can watch the news and like see like journalists talking about like a really horrific murder or whatever, and then flick the channel and then watch like a fucking film where like murder is taking place, and he's talking like the similarity between the forms through which real and fictional violence are represented influence our perception and especially our sensitivity to that process. So like we have become desensitized to violence because we're watching on the same like on the same screen that we watch Hostel and Saw and like horror films where like, oh yeah, the gore and all is like really fun or whatever. You can then switch and like watch like actual people die, and it can desensitize you to the actual violence.
Yeah.
And that's like what he's kind of talking about. I think it's interesting that like if you look at the Wikipedia page for this, like Michelle Haneke apparently said like he didn't intend this to be a horror film. It's just what came about from like trying to like deal with like violence and upsetting people.
Yeah, it's definitely like a wind up film. But like it's almost like Nightcrawler almost. Like the way like Lou Bloom just
That's so interesting that you said that because I actually have a note about Nightcrawler in regards
yeah.
to this film.
It is so similar. Like Lou Bloom wins at the end. Basically, like you feel bad for all the characters that get fucked up, but like that's all you can do. You can just feel bad for them. Like Lou wins at the end. It doesn't matter what you think. Like he's just it's the story of his victory rather than like a conventional victim narrative. You know, so it's a lot like that almost.
Yeah, definitely. I think the fact that like Michelle Haneke is talking about like, you know, horror films, and he's talking about like, you know, the conventions of horror, and especially the plot doesn't actually go anywhere unless Peter and Paul are on the screen. Like the start of this film is fucking boring. And then Peter and Paul come in, and you get the egg scene, and the tension goes up, and it keeps going up and up and up and up and up and up until Georgie dies. And Peter walks in, he's like, "Oh, what the fuck? Like, you've ruined." Like, he's basically he's just like, "You killed the kid." As we said, like, there's no like tension anymore because we killed the kid. So they leave. They decide to leave and leave Naomi Watts and Tim Roth by themselves, and like Peter's just like, "Oh, we'll leave them alone so that they can have a chance to escape, but we'll come back in and we'll get them. Like we know that we're gonna do that, but we're just gonna do that just because the audience expects that." And sure enough, like we think that they're gonna escape, and then they come back in, and then they kill the two of them. But what's really like cool about the film is that like Peter and Paul are only doing this because it's a film. Like there is no reason for them to do this except for the fact that they have been written this way, and like they joke about this, like Tim Roth is like, "Why are you doing this?" And it's like, "Why not?" And then like Peter's just like, "Oh, he was an alcoholic, like he was a drug addict, his mom beat him or whatever." And he's like, "You know that," like then he's just like take the piss, he's like, "You know that's not true, I know that's not true, we're just doing this just because."
Yeah.
And it's like the only reason why they're doing it is because it is a film and someone needs to be the bad guy.
Yeah, it is. It's weird. It's almost like there's actually something I noticed to recall a past film, Peeping Tom. Something I noticed about Peeping Tom is the director, you know, the father in Peeping Tom, who like scarred Mark, and like he's like the sort of invisible spectre, like the bad guy almost that you just never see really, except for in like blurry photos. Like that's the director of the film. That's Michael Pell. Like he's Mark's father basically. Which is
that's so interesting.
Yeah, which
what
is
the
a part
fuck?
I never noticed before, and that's sort of it's
That adds such a cool layer to that film
because he basically
that
is
actually
his dad.
brings it kind of similar to this, like
It's a meta film basically. If you can read it that way, anyway. Like why else would he cast himself as the father? You know, he is literally the father of Mark because he's the director of the film, and he's literally the father of the main character who's the bad guy. It's like he's been written this way. He's like trapped in this loop, the same loop that Peter and Paul are trapped in Funny Games. But they're sort of like enjoying it, I suppose. And there's never
but they enjoy it because they're just like, well, there's nothing else. We can't be anything else than what we're written to be. And like especially Peter. Peter is especially aware of the fact that he's in a film, and he's just like, I mean, I'm not going to be written any other way. I am the killer, so I might as well enjoy killing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, It is. It's weird. It's like a postmodern. I don't know if he was aware of Peeping Tom or any of those things, but it's like a postmodern sort of version
I
of that.
say he was. Michelle Haneke seems to know.
Yeah.
Like, he seems to know a lot.
But it's like just the way there's like no resolution. Like with Peeping Tom and stuff, you have like a resolution or a conventional story arc. Whereas in this, or even in Nightcrawler, you don't have, like, it's like a very nihilistic sort of look at it. Like there's your assumptions of what's going to happen, and then it purposely goes against it. And you have like these immediate reaction of like disgust, which I don't know if that's just like empathy or like seeing something new. I don't know. Like it makes you think. It makes you think.
I don't know. I think the acting in this film is really, really good. Like,
yeah.
you can really read on like Tim Roth and Naomi Watts and whoever. I don't know who this kid actor is. He's unreal. But whoever the kid actor is,
Yeah, Jesus.
like the three of them, like you can read the fear and pain and exhaustion in their faces every time that they're on. Every time it shows their face, like you can really tell that they are. Like even if they survive, which like you're basically told at one stage that there's no way that they're going to survive, but even if they survive, they are going to be unbelievably fucked up from this experience.
Yeah. Yeah, Naomi Watts is amazing in it.
And she's amazing in it.
How did that kid act like that?
I have no idea, but apparently, like, I haven't seen it, but like Michelle Haneke has the film called White Ribbon, which is like basically like there's a load of kid actors in it. And apparently he just knows how to fucking direct kids and how to get a good performance out of kids. Because apparently there's a bunch of kids in it and they're all fantastic.
Jeez, that's a bit suspicious. Just want to investigate that, man, because like the acting is like, that kid is like so realistic in that movie. It's so fucked up.
He must have been traumatized.
Yeah, he must have been. It was like a method acting kind of thing. Like
it's ridiculous
so
though.
weird.
Like the kid is so good. It is like one of the best child performances that I've ever seen. Anyway,
fuck.
In terms of like a horror film, like when Paul and Peter aren't on screen, it's really fucking boring. Like they are the plot. They are the driving force in everything that happens in this film. And when they leave, it's boring. Like when they go, and we have to just sit there and watch like Naomi Watts and Tim Roth like go through like for the characters. It is like the most traumatic, horrible experience like that anyone could ever go through. But for us as the viewer, it's boring.
yeah. It's like,
which I think is a commentary on that desensitized to violence.
Yeah, especially the start. The start is so boring, because they're like the most like basic like upper middle class Americans, like have a fucking summer home, and like I think they have like a groundskeeper as well. Now like they're just like minted, and they have like a summer home.
Oh, they're minted.
Have like a summer home on a lake and stuff like that, and they're just completely like non-entities, extremely boring characters. They almost need to be killed to like have anything interesting, or like to even to be able to like empathize with them. You have to like reach these extremes of emotion, you know, because they're just completely like empty as characters.
Yeah, the only time you feel sad for them is when the dog dies.
Yeah, the only time you feel sad for them is when they're like literally being like tortured or anything like that, or not feel sad for them, but the only time like you feel like you can connect with them. Because before that, they're just like random people just like going about their boring lives, talking about eggs and shit, and like dinner parties with their neighbors and stuff.
Yeah, they're worried about their golf game that they're gonna have tomorrow and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think in a way it's like, it's almost like Tarkovsky-esque with how he deals with violence, with how like it's just these long takes of watching people suffer, and you just have to reflect on what's going on.
Yeah, it's not pleasant.
There's so much violence that happens in this film, but we never ever see it. Like you don't see Tim Roth die. You don't see the kid getting his head blown off. You don't see anything. And you don't even see like Tim Roth getting his leg broken. Like that. Like you see the top half of him like falling down and him holding his leg, but you don't actually see like the golf club hitting his leg, and you don't see the dog dying either.
Yeah, I wasn't even certain that Tim Roth was like had broken anything until like halfway into the film, when it's like they stand on his leg. Yeah, because you see it, but like at the start, I'm just like, man, get up. So what are you doing? It's like because they just
fight.
Yeah. It's like because they just hit him with the golf club and he just falls over. But Yeah, you don't really see violence, except for when Paul or Peter gets shotgunned by Naomi Watts.
Paul is the bigger
Paul,
one, I
yeah.
guess we could say. Yeah.
Mm,
Like towards the end of the film, where they're on the boat and they just like toss Naomi Watts into the water.
mm,
They just like start like discussing the difference between like being a fictional being and being like real, because like Peter, or no, sorry, not Peter. Paul doesn't know that he's in a film, but Peter seemingly does, and Paul is talking about like this like character that's like in between reality and fiction,
mm.
which is what Peter is basically. And he's just like, oh, like what's the difference between like real and fiction? And like Peter's just like, well, if you can see it, it might as well be real. And it's just like it's a weird like kind of note to end on, like, and like that's one of the things I want to talk about. Like, do you think like that Peter draws attention to the fact that this is a film? Like we are told repeatedly throughout the film, this is a film. What you're watching isn't real. But what Haneke is talking about is the blurring between real violence and fictional violence. Do you think like that's like kind of pointless to draw attention to the fact, to break the realism in the film where you're talking about fictional and real violence?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it is a bit. It's a bit of a contradiction. Like maybe it would work better if he didn't have all those like winks and stuff. But like at the same time, that would be more of just like an art piece, you know. Like that would almost be an even worse film. It's just constant suffering, and then you're just sitting there at the end, like, or because I read that like when it was first premiered, like loads of people walked out. But that's with like all these winks and stuff. Even like my reaction to it was like that's how, like knowing going into it that was like a meta film. But like
Yeah,
if they removed all those sort of winks, it'd just be like it maybe be more coherent, but it wouldn't be. It'd be a lot less watchable, you know.
it would. Yeah, I think because like reading something, I read some piece somewhere where Haneke was talking about the film and like the fact that people walked out on it, and he was like, "Oh yeah, if people walked out in the film, that's what I intended. Like it's the people that sat there and stayed and enjoyed the film that really need to like worry about like their mental psyche with violence or
What?
whatever."
That's retarded. That doesn't make any
It's
sense.
something along those lines. It wasn't to that extent, but like it was something along those lines.
Yeah.
And it's like he basically made a film where he wanted you to stop watching because he wanted the violence to be so real. But it's in a film that constantly says what you're watching isn't real.
Mm.
So it's like, oh, it's your like it's like, oh, if you watch the film and you enjoy the film, or like the violence in the film at least, it's like, oh yeah, you're all fucked up. You're all fucked
You're
up.
all fucked up.
But I'm gonna. You're all fucked up because like you've like lost the meaning. Like you're desensitized to violence.
Mm.
But I'm also gonna draw attention to the fact that this violence isn't actually real. Which real violence and fake violence are two very separate things.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know. It's not really consistent, and like I still don't really have like a coherent reading of it. I don't know. Like maybe it would have been better, just as like a straight like torture porn thing. But then you already have that with like.
But I think the problem there is that like the fact that like they draw attention to the fact that it's a film is nearly where the critique comes from. Like if this was just a straight up torture porn film but you don't see any of the violence, that's just like that's just a boring film.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. But like, yeah, I know what you mean. Cause like you know, there's like loads of films where like, just because they're made by a certain person or like they're released in a certain setting, or like come from like a certain milieu or whatever, you're expected to read more into them than there is.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if Hostel was fucking directed by Michael Haneke, you'd be like, oh, this is a commentary on fucking I don't know, neoliberalism and I suppose the Hostel is a commentary on certain things, but like,
Hostel's fucking shite, man. Hostel's
yeah,
so bad.
but it is.
I hate that film.
Yeah, it's bad, but like if an artsy director released it, people would be like, oh, there's so much in this, and which is probably what this would have been if they hadn't included all the fucking all the hammy winks at the camera, like literal winks at the camera. But it does sort of compromise the overall point and the overall message, you know?
Yeah, it's like it's such a difficult message to do like in this way, like to like critique violence, and like it works in the fact that he doesn't show any violence, but the fact that like he constantly brings his attention to the fact that like none of the violence that you're watching is real. To the fact that like it would maybe work better if he like worked with more realism, but then you don't get the critique because it needs to like poke fun at the fact that it is a film.
Yeah.
For it to have that critique in the first place.
Yeah, I know. For me anyway, like when they start like doing all that stuff, it just like completely like alienated me from the initial reaction. Anyway, like it sort of appeased the initial disgust and stuff like that. Like it's like, oh, this is just a big art film. No need to take it seriously. It's like you don't have to empathize with like for me. Like I was thinking, I don't have to empathize with the characters anymore because he's literally like the bad guy is literally telling me this is just a film.
Which is so interesting because that's the complete opposite effect that Haneke intended for the film to have.
Yeah.
Like I like this film in terms of like the method that it uses, but I don't think it really works.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it is because it was obviously it was received quite poorly when it was released. But like since then, like I was looking it up before this, and like pretty much everywhere is like agrees that it's a really good film, and there's like loads of layers of different meanings to it. I think it's almost maybe it's like an overcorrection against the original reaction in the US. So where people are saying, oh, like first people were saying this is shite, and now people are saying, oh, this is amazing. Whereas like there's a lot of a lot of problems with the film, I think, in terms of how it's executed. No pun intended.
I think in terms of like a critique of horror films and like the torture porn, like, you know, genre and you know, violence within horror films and your expectations from that, I think it's a fantastic film. But as a critique of violence and like the blurring between fiction and reality, I don't think the film executes on that front. But I do like the film a lot. I think it's a very good film, and I think everyone should watch it. Especially if you're well versed in the conventions of the horror genre, like us two weirdos.
Yeah, if you've ever watched Saw or Hostel or anything like that, you should probably watch this.
Yeah.
But it's quite disturbing.
Such a bad movie.
Very disturbing movie.
Hostel's so bad.
I've never actually watched Hostel, so
don't, man. It's like it's not even violent. It's just shit.
Okay.
Like it's just shit. There is one good moment in the film, and that's where, like, according to Hostel, not Funny Games, by the way, Hostel, where like a character is about to get her like toe cut off, and it cuts between like the like scissors cutting down on her toe and someone clipping their nails, and it just like cuts between that, and it's like oh, it's just a toenail being clipped because it's like the pressure's being put, and then like it like the release is like someone clipping their toenails. That's the best moment in Hostel.
Yeah, jeez.
And there you go. I just gave you the best moment in Hostel. Everything else in that film is shite.
Grand.
But yeah, like Michel Haneke, like he has Michel Haneke has got like really interesting ideas about films. Like he has this whole thing where he hates Schindler's List. Especially because like I've only seen Schindler's List once. I am probably never gonna watch Schindler's List again.
Same.
Because like no real need to.
Yeah, why would you? It's like lovely day. You might sit down and watch Schindler's List. You know, it's like why would you stick that on?
3-hour long Holocaust film.
Why would you ever watch that?
But he hates Schindler's List because there's a scene where characters are going to like in the concentration camp, they're going to the shower and they're being forced in, and what Michel Haneke hates about that is that there's no tension brought about within the scene itself. It's your knowledge as the viewer that the fucking showers are where they gas people, but the characters themselves don't know, but they still show fear, which is weird because they should know that potentially the thing that's going to kill them is coming from the showers, which is like a very interesting take on that scene. And I actually agree with them. I'm like, yeah, that's actually right, because there's no tension made by the film itself. The tension comes from our knowledge of actual historical events.
Yeah, yeah. I'll like the sort of like the meaning is all external. Like everything disturbing about that movie is like based on basically what you learned in history class. Like it's nothing to do with the actual
Yeah.
film,
Yeah,
which is a massive failure. But yeah, he's definitely right in that sense, I think.
he is all right. Enough of the real shit. Let's go on
Yeah.
to listener questions.
It's on with the Holocaust. What's going on? Like,
We only got like actually. I think we should only take one because it's a bit of a. I mean, according to my.
wait, this is going to be a massive segue if we only take the
massive
one.
segue, but like I think we should only take one question because we've been going on for so long about shit.
Okay.
Speaking of massive atrocities, Mark, do you want to give the fucking Gmail or whatever the fuck we have?
Okay. Yeah, if you want to ask us any questions, give us any feedback, tell us what we're doing wrong, what we're doing right, you can get to us at paro_pod on Instagram or on Twitter. You can also get to us via email at theparopod@gmail.com. There you go.
There we go. I'm gonna check. Oh my god, we actually got fucking emails. I only checked it there. Holy
What?
shit, we have
No,
an
we didn't.
email.
No,
we
we
have
didn't.
an email.
No, we didn't.
Right? This one's coming in from Matthew Eustace. He says, "You guys suck." Matthew, completely agree. And then we got one from Naomi Hyder.
Who the fuck is this?
Ciao. That's in Portuguese or Spanish. I can't read that. I will love us to be friends. I think that's what she means. But it's like translated awfully from like Google Translate, whatever. That's not your fault, Naomi. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Naomi.
I would love to be friends with you as well, Naomi. That was so weird. I haven't checked emails ever. And as soon as I do, we actually do have emails.
Why did Matthew email us? What time was this? Yeah, that's so weird.
But our first question, well, actually, our only one that we're going to be taking.
Our last question comes in.
Our last question, our first and last, our only hot take comes in from Kevin Keeley. And Kevin says, Fontaines DC are very overrated. Now, Mark, we actually saw Fontaines DC before they got big whatsoever, because we went to see them supporting Lemon Twigs.
I think most people saw the Fontaines. Like, they were the Workman's House band for ages.
I know, but I think it's really cool that for my 18th birthday, we went to see Lemon Twigs, and then we saw fucking Fontaines DC, and then they just happened to they got nominated for a Grammy, I'm pretty sure, this week.
Did they?
I'm pretty sure they did.
Yeah, they're on Jimmy Fallon and stuff. Yeah, we're chatting to them in Workman's. Remember that? Or the drummer or something like that.
They're sound.
They're nice enough.
Like, I don't really like Fontaines DC that much. I'm not really into their music. However, I love that song that Dan used to play. Like that,
Liberty Bell, yeah.
Liberty Bell. But, like, the Darklands version of it, because they recorded that song on one of their albums. Can't remember what the album's called.
Yeah.
And it sounds like shit on that album. It's so... It does not have the same kick. Yeah, it's overproduced.
Yeah. I just remember in Workman's one of the times, I think it was like in second year or something, and like Dan sang like all the lyrics to
Man,
to
he
Liberty
fucking
Bell.
loved that song.
He loved that song, and your man, the lead fella, was like there obviously because it was a Saturday night, or he was there anyway, and he came over and thanked Dan on the dance. It was like, oh, it's great to see fans who know all the lyrics and shit like that, but like that was ages ago. That was before obviously they got big. I was mad how they got big. It is a bit weird how they got big.
Like, it seems to be like kind of out of nowhere that they got huge.
Yeah, because like they're not like they're good, but like there's nothing crazy good about them.
No, maybe
like, they're just
like,
they're pretty good.
Not to sound like an absolute asshole, but maybe that's why they're so popular, because like they're good.
They're not that good.
But there's nothing like not that they're not that good, but they're good. But there's like, if someone if I'm trying to think of an example, like Kendrick Lamar, let's say for example, that's like the only thing I can think of right now, in terms like like jazz production, like these weird like narratives and stuff like that. That's where he stands out in. But that's where you can also like turn people away from. Whereas with like Fontaines DC, there's nothing really like stand out. God, I hope they don't hear this podcast. But there's nothing stand out about them. But because of that, like they don't turn anyone away.
Yeah, but like at the same time, like you can't cross over into the US by just being like inoffensive. Like they obviously had like some massive push from the label.
It's so weird. I don't know.
But because I know I read some interview with them because I'm mad into like their poetry and stuff, and one of them I think published a book in poetry, and like they include like references to Joyce and stuff in their lyrics. But like there's one interview they did where they're like they're asked about the formation of the band, and they're like, we saw that there weren't a lot of indie rock acts out, and we had to change the game and stuff or something like that. I was like, what? I was like, what are you on about? Or something, or punk or something like that. They basically said there aren't enough bands like the Fontaines out there. I was like, that's like the exact opposite of the truth. I
actually think that's why I don't like them, because there are too many fucking bands like them. And that's what fucking like Kevin goes on to say, like messages like, I'm not gonna like read out exactly what he said, but like that's like what he was saying as well. Like there's too many bands like Fontaines DC. And yeah, I like I don't know.
I don't mind
really
it.
like,
Yeah,
I don't mind them. I don't mind them whatsoever. I actually like the Fontaines DC. I don't really like their music that much, but I like them as a band, as a cultural figure. I like them.
So
their
specific,
you know, whatever.
As a cultural figure,
they're better than U2.
Early U2 is amazing, to be fair.
Yeah, but in terms of like, you know, a cultural figure.
Yeah, Bono, fuck Bono, bro.
Fuck the Edge.
Fuck the Edge. That's it. I said it. I don't care if you're listening to Edge.
I said it. No one else was willing to say it, but I said it. Fuck the Edge. But I want to draw
anti-Edge podcast.
I want to draw on Kevin's thing, because like more or less what he's saying is like, they go, yeah, sorry, exactly what he said was Fontaines are overrated. So like, what are other musical acts that are really popular that you think are like overrated?
I pretty shouldn't talk about this. Like I think, I don't know. Like,
Mark,
there's a lot.
actually, that's a terrible. Actually, sorry, I actually shouldn't ask you this because I actually don't think you like any popular music.
I don't know. I wouldn't know the charts, to be honest. Like, you know, like I'm an old soul.
You like the Beach Boys. You like the Beatles.
Yeah. Oh, like it's just
not to make you that old, but like, you know, they're the only two that I know that you like.
I like modern stuff, you know, but like I don't like stuff that be on the radio and stuff. I just don't like any of that.
I'm so out of listening to music at the moment because we're in lockdown. Because I only really listen to music when I'm on the bus or like walking around town or something like that, and I'm not doing it at the moment. So I'm not listening to music at all. I am so out of listening to music at the moment.
No, I've been listening to more music really, because just stick it on the speaker.
Wild.
Be grand, you know.
I never know what to listen to though. I started listening to some Phoebe Bridgers. She's fantastic. She's great. I recommend her. Her album Punisher is really good.
Yeah.
Seamless. There was no pause there.
You know, oh sure, the Fontaines new album is actually pretty good as well. It's not that bad.
I actually haven't listened to their.
You should give it a listen.
Album. I only listened to
It's pretty good.
Dogma, or whatever the fuck that album was called.
Dogmouth.
Is that what it's called? Would you ever?
I have no idea.
Doggerel. I didn't like that. Doggerel. I didn't like that album. It was too overproduced, I think. But Liberty Bell is a great fucking song. Like, that's such a good tune.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I don't know. I can't even remember the first album, but the second one got good reviews and stuff like that. It's just weird how they got big in America after that. It's like,
they went on tour with Idols as well, which
they did
a lot of help.
Did a big tour of the UK there earlier in the year, I think, and I think they're going US, I think, or Europe at the start of next year, if that happens at all. Sure, you see, Primavera is apparently going ahead.
Did you get tickets to that?
Yeah.
Yes, lad.
Yeah, be grand. I like the lineup. If they keep the entire lineup, you're laughing. You are laughing.
Oh, stop. There are so many good acts.
Mm.
There are a ridiculous amount of good acts on that. Like, you got, it's actually, there's so many that I can't remember how many good ones there are.
I can't remember
Like,
any of them. There's so many of them. I can't remember a single one.
off the top of my head, Lil Sims is playing and she's amazing. So
Tyler the Creator's out of it and stuff.
I feel like Charlie XCX might be playing at that.
Yeah, she's a queen.
Man,
I'm
I
gonna
am
look it up.
snapping that we missed her at EP.
Charlie XCX.
Yeah, she played at EP like literally last year.
Did she?
She did.
What? Where?
She played at one of the smaller stages. My sister got to see her.
Oh, fuck.
Snapping.
What were we doing? What were we doing at that
You
time?
were at work and I was sitting at the campsite not knowing who Charlie XCX was.
What? Yeah, the only act I saw that entire time was a Beach Boys cover act. And then fucking, what's their name? Tender. They did that song Tender, was it?
Oh, Parquet Courts.
Parquet Courts, I saw them as well. That's it.
Yeah. I think I saw 4 or 5 acts at EP like last year. Like, I did not see many acts. 'Cause, like, I saw Kneecap.
Yeah, Kneecap.
I saw a bit of Parquet Courts
Were you at Parquet Courts?
for like 2 minutes and then I was outside.
I
Like,
was I was outside and I was going in and they said, or no, I was like, Orla called me and I went back outside and I was standing outside for like 20 minutes. We were probably like feet away from each other.
we actually probably were feet away from each other.
And that was later in the night when like...
That was the last day, like, yeah.
That was the last,
Yeah.
crazy last day. That was hilarious.
Yeah, so that's the episode. Mark, what's your recommendation?
My recommendation for episode 17 is a little film called Gremlins.
It's a classic.
It's a classic. Robert Zemeckis, I think. Sometime in the 80s. It was released. A great
I have
film.
never seen Gremlins. I'm
That's
very
insane.
excited.
That is insane.
I don't know how I've done it. I've never seen it. I don't know how I've never seen it. Makes no sense. But
Yeah, it's weird. It actually wasn't directed by Robert Zemeckis. I already fucked that up. It's directed by Joe Dante. So it's and it's a 1984 film. So it's I think a lot of people, everyone sort of recognizes it anyway.
1984?
It's about the authoritarian state or something like that. There's definitely some sort of weird reading we can extract from this.
Oh, 100%. There has to be something there.
So tune in on the winter solstice, the 21st of December, episode 17.
I can't wait for our Christmas season. I am buzzing.
I'm buzzing. We should all dress
Can't
up.
wait. I mean, Mark, I don't know if I've talked about this before, but I used to dress up as, well, it's not going to head this year, obviously, for obvious reasons, but I used to be an elf. So maybe I'll put on my elf costume and we can have a good time.
You've like a compulsion to dress up as elves every Christmas.
I need to do it, Mark. All right. God
Alright.
bless. We will see you next week on a random bullshitty episode. However, me and Mark will be in person for that episode. So I'm excited. I am so excited for the next episode.
Buzzing. Can't wait.
All right. See you.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.